Well, don't look now, but the West Virginia Mountaineers are close and onto the bubble, according to Joe Lunardi and ESPN. How close to West Virginia is to getting into that tournament, we're going to talk about it. We're also going to be talking about Utah and what that game could mean. Stick around. This is Locked On West Virginia and a Locked On Utes. You know what it is. We're crossing over.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host here, and welcome back into Locked On West Virginia. Thank you guys so much for joining in again today with us as we dive into more talk about West Virginia hoops, West Virginia football. We're going to be talking about some Utah hoops and football as well. And we're grateful for you for being here as always. This episode is going to be brought to you by our friends. Hey, look at our friends from Mazda. Right now with Mazda, if you didn't know, we put that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, and putting in that work that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, because there's more to a Mazda, because there's more to you. Is looking at you, kid. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia and Locked On Utes your first listen, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, where we're talking about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. But I'm not alone, as you guys know. Here to talk about not only West Virginia and the bubble situation, he wants to talk about Ross Hodge a little bit, but also we're going to preview the Utah game after we talk about that, is my friend and coworker at Locked On Utes, JT Wistercil.
Always great to be with you, MP. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. So it's a tough year for Utah, right?
Yeah,
so,
I must really love you to come on and talk about Utah basketball, by the way, with how bad they are. I mean, for everyone just to know, like, they have 2 wins against P4 teams at this point in the season. That's kind of hard to fathom.
Yeah, right. I get it. But, before we get there, obviously on today's show, we're going to be talking about some football. I'm going to ask you some football questions because I doubt we're going to get 3 segments out of all this. And then, obviously segment 2 will give a prediction and score, even though that says in segment 3, we probably won't get quite the 3. So probably a prediction and score in segment 2, along with keys to the game and stuff. And then we'll get to the football stuff late. But before we get there, I want to talk about ESPN and kind of where they have West Virginia, because if Utah were in that conversation, we talk about them too, but currently they're not. They're going to have to perform like a Georgia-esque miracle from a couple years ago and win the tournament, or something, the conference tournament, or something crazy to get in.
Yeah.
So it's not, that's only what happens for you guys. So for now, we'll talk about West Virginia and, looking at a lot of different things for West Virginia right now. Does West Virginia, are they in according to ESPN? Well, not exactly, but they're closer than they've been all season. JT Lunardi has officially moved West Virginia onto that bubble, and they're now listed as the next 4 out, which is, it's right there. I consider that on the bubble, and that means we're not talking hypotheticals anymore. We're not talking about what if they got hot or what if they can get in there or whatever. We're talking survival, man. You got to win each game here on the way out of the door. And with Utah coming to count at 9-15, you feel like this is either a stepping stone or it's going to be a landmine. Which one's it going to be? We're going to talk about that right now, JT. What are your thoughts? Do you think that, obviously you're a Utah fan, but from West Virginia's perspective, you've got to kind of be licking your chops with, you put yourself into bubble territory. Now you've got a Utah team coming to town.
Yeah, I mean, this is an awesome opportunity for West Virginia to get let's feel good about ourselves. Like, that's what this win should be. We should dominate this Utah team, and we should feel really good about ourselves. For people wondering the state of this Utah men's basketball program, and I already mentioned the 2 P4 wins, they have lost 12 of their last 13 games. Even Jerome Tang beat the Utah Utes. That's how bad this Utah men's basketball team is right now currently. It's rough, and they're going through it, and they don't have good size. Their starting center got hurt right before the year started. They weren't able to replace him. Their best players are smaller guards, and sometimes they struggle to score against the tallest players. So that's another problem too. Guys have been inconsistent. They took some big swings on some X factor guys, and most of them have completely fallen flat. This is a really rough first year for Alex Jensen. I still totally believe in him and the vision. It's just, he has to adjust and learn how to figure out the way to build the best talent, and also say this is more than an Alex Jensen problem. This is a Utah men's basketball program problem. Doesn't matter who the coach is.
Right.
It hasn't worked. So they have to figure out how to support it. So yeah, is there a world where Utah could come in and get West Virginia if they're taking them lightly? Sure. Alex Jensen's a good coach. There are some talented players on this roster. But at the end of the day, I said it right off the bat. They have 2 wins against P4 teams. Utah should struggle in this game. West Virginia should get a really good win, especially as they try to build that NCAA tournament resume, because this is the kind of loss, MP, that if it happens, it would sink that tournament bid.
Oh, yeah. You would have to go crazy from here on out for that to happen. Look, here's how I look at it. If you're in the next 4 out mid-February, you're 1 good week from being in the tournament, right? So I think the UCF game is the shift, because UCF had some nice wins recently, Texas Tech and others. So Iowa State, I think they beat. So before that, we've kind of been out of the conversation. We've been, around the conversation. Now I feel like we're in the conversation, which matters. And so the UCF win was massive. It's a road win. It was a bubble opponent, a momentum builder, and a quad 1 win. So if you lose that game, you're probably buried too. But now you're breathing. So I think here's what I think. This team is playing elimination basketball in February, and you just survived one with UCF. Now you got to survive another one with Utah, and then you got to survive another one with Texas Christian, and then you got to survive another one with Oklahoma State, and then you get a wounded BYU. Like, there is opportunity for Virginia to really do damage here. I'm not of the mindset that I read something, Skylar Callahan, when we looked at it right before the show, JT, that West Virginia needed to win 24 or 25 games to get in. I can't buy that. I just can't buy it. Like, that can't be the floor for getting in if you're a Big 12 school.
Yeah, that seems like a lot to me. And I like this West Virginia team. I think they got a chance. I think having them on the bubble and in that conversation is fair right now, right? Sitting at the 7-5, 16-9 is good. But at the same time, the resume, you mentioned good quality Q1 wins. Yeah. But there's not a lot of those ranked wins. The non-conference slate wasn't what it would want to be. So I understand why West Virginia is not a lock to be in right now, but I do believe there is some wiggle room. I believe if you guys get some wins here and go from there, it's unfortunate the only ranked team you have left on your schedule is exactly what you already said, MP. It's a wounded BYU, and a win against them will not be viewed the same as it would have been earlier in the year, because there's no Richie Saunders. And he was one of the maybe not 5 best players in the Big 12, but still a really dang good Big 12 player too. So that's where
he's a headache. He is a headache.
He's really, he's amazing. He's a really good player. It's just, he's, like I said, he's not exactly
the headband, the hair, the whole thing.
Yeah. The potato tots, all the story with him. But this is West Virginia has an opportunity. I don't think they have to be perfect down the stretch, but I mean, even like I said, losses to the wrong teams could absolutely sink you, and anything more than 2 to 3 losses, you're probably out of it. Unfortunately, unless you go crazy in the tourney. Like I've said all along, I've always felt like if you can just get to 20, 21, I feel good, and if you don't get in with that, then I feel like I can have a gripe at that point. Absolutely.
But, I think the must wins are obviously Utah, K-State, and if you beat UCF on the road, you might as well go ahead and just beat them at home too. Although they're talented enough to beat you, but if you're making me pick, those are the ones I'll pick. Then you split TCU and Oklahoma State, because that's a road trip where you're going to be staying out there for both games most likely. That gets you to 20, and here's the debate, because it's 20 enough. Well, I don't know. I still think 21 regular season wins makes you feel more safe, obviously. So why don't you go ahead and sweep the road trip on and beat BYU, because if you can do that, I think you're in a good spot. So do you want to sweat out Selection Sunday, or do you want to relax? I guess that's basically what it comes down to. So for the most part, man, just wanted to touch on that really quick. We'll dive into some Utah stuff now. Obviously, this is a basketball team that's really wounded. Give West Virginia fans an overview of just who to watch for. What does this team do well when it's playing well? When it's beating teams, what's that look like?
Yeah, I think Terrence Brown, as I said, unfortunately, they haven't done a lot of the beating teams part. You mentioned it at the end, my friend. So it's been a long time since I've seen Utah beat a decent Big 12 team. And that's what I consider this West Virginia team to be. Just Utah's the one win against TCU, as I mentioned, and that just still doesn't overly impress me. I think West Virginia is one of the 64 best teams in the country. I think them and UCF both belong in the NCAA tournament. I hope to see them get there. But for what we're looking at with this Utah Utes team, right? It starts with Terrence Brown. He's a dynamic leading scorer for this team. He's one of those smaller guards I mentioned, but he does average 20 points a game, shoots 44% from the field, 33% from 3. Dominic Henry, his backcourt mate, another smaller guard, but guy who fills it up, 17 points a game for him too. And he shoots 38% from the outside. So either one of those guys are capable of getting going. You got Keanu Dawes, who's always a double-double threat. He averages 12 and 9 on the season. He's an undersized 5. That's where Utah has, well, I should say they've been using James Okonkwo more, but he's very limited offensively. He's only averaging 2.5 points per game. But Dawes, a forward who can shoot it a little bit, can be an energy guy down low, just a little undersized. Traore is the next start guy you probably look at, their power forward. He's incredibly inconsistent.
Seydou Traore.
Yeah, he is all over the place. He is very inconsistent. He might have a game where he gives you 10, and he might have a game where it's like, how did he only have 2 points when he started? That's what you get with him too. So it's a very inconsistent group. The bench gives you almost nothing. It's really, for Utah, you need Terrence Brown, Don McHenry to go crazy, Keanu Dawes to make some hustle plays, and you go from there. Utah is not a team that's quit on the season. I will say that there's been several, like the Cincinnati game, they lead late, they lose it. Oklahoma State, they lead that game, they lose it. So I do not expect West Virginia to win by 20 points, but I feel like if West Virginia plays their best, they should be in control of this one down the stretch. And Utah should be in that position where they're fouling. And West Virginia could win by 20 plus if they do their thing. But I'm not expecting these Utah teams just to kind of roll over. There is some talent here. And Alex Jensen knows, he was an elite NBA assistant in the past. He knows what he's looking for. He's going to have this group ready to go.
Just in year one, man. I mean,
it's in year one. So will he execute? How will it work? That's what we'll see. But West Virginia, far superior, far more talented team. Mountaineers should win this game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jensen doesn't have the luxury that Ross Hodge did, which is you're bringing two of your best players with you from where you came from. And Brennan Lorient is that. And Jasper Floyd is, I would put him in the top 2 or 3 on-ball defenders in the league. Like West Virginia, top 10 defense for a reason. Ross Hodge emulates everything that Kelvin Sampson does at Houston. That's who he aspires West Virginia to be. And West Virginia is that on defense. They're probably as good as Houston on defense or close. But, it's unfortunately offensively, the talent isn't there yet. You're in year one. Teams have, and then we'll go to break, teams have really made somebody other than Honor Huff beat them this year. And unfortunately for West Virginia, we haven't always been able to do that. I go back to the famous stretch against Baylor where we went 7 minutes without a field goal. They went 12 minutes without a field goal, and somehow they extended their lead.
Yeah.
So we went without a field goal. I mean, it's crazy. 5 minutes longer or less time than they did, and they still extended their lead. So, it's one of the crazier stats I can remember in our, so we go to some lulls, but we can also get really hot. And in the last 2 games, we've come back from 14 down in the second half in both games. Because what Honor Huff is. I mean, he had 7 points in the first half, finished at 21. He scored, I think, almost 12 of the 14 points in the last 6 minutes of the game versus Cincinnati. He's a dynamic. I think he leads all of college basketball in threes over the last 2 years. So, he's one of those streaky guys. But we'll get to a break really quick. We'll get some keys to the game. We'll get a prediction, and we'll get into some football here with JT Wistercil from Locked On Utes. This is a crossover, guys. We'll be right back after the break. And, of course, our friends at Indeed say hello, and why wouldn't they? Because, right now workplace chaos is going on and deadlines are stacking up, inboxes are overflowing, and the one position you have to have still is sitting open, and you got to fill it. Well, when the pressure is on and you need to be the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, and location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. No, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the stat line that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, why don't you do us a favor and spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs? All you have to do is spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who will check off all your boxes. You'll spend less time, less stress, more results. And when you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get $75 and Locked On Utes will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our shows by saying you heard about the Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast where the terms and conditions apply. You need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And of course, guys, it is segment 2. And in every segment 2, I usually crack a do, but I don't have a do today. But I do have a Frappuccino do. So this Frappuccino do is for you, JT, and tell all of your fans and my fans where they can find you, what you're doing.
Yeah, you guys can head over to Locked On Utes on YouTube, posting every day, just opposite of what MP does, covering the Utah Utes. You can find it there on X as well at Locked On Utes. I'm getting some love in the comments as well. MP Swabby G wants to send me some West Virginia stuff, which I would not wear, but I will say I do like the Mountaineers. I respect a lot. It's just I prefer our conference rivals to say the same. Although I would be down to make a friendly bet about if you guys beat us next year. That'd be fun. I'd be down to wear West Virginia if I get you in some Utah stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We can make a friendly bet for sure.
Oh, let's do that. Yeah.
For football.
Yeah, obviously
last game of the year, right?
I'm feeling pretty good about football right now, obviously, right? Compared to for what happened last year. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I do feel like we have closed the gap. Let's get to that conversation in a second, because that'll be fun to talk about. Stick around for the conversation about football. Okay, so me, JT, and I'll make a bet on the show live. I don't even know what it's going to be yet. So, basketball. I'm thrown off. Keys.
I'm trying to distract
here.
you. I'm trying to distract
you.
Right?
Right. Let's just not even talk about the basketball game. Let's distract away from it as long as possible for you. Obviously, this is a game West Virginia should win. I said on my show the other day, I feel like West Virginia should win this game, by 7 to 10 points, comfortably, where you're up 6 or 7 points late in the game and they start fouling kind of thing, something like that. So, because I don't know, just the way we play, we don't really blow teams out. We have the capability if everybody's on that day, but depends on how you guys play defense. So my keys to the game are pretty simple. Number one is very obvious. West Virginia's gotten off to seven, and this is no lie, of the slowest starts I've ever seen a West Virginia team get off to, and somehow, because of their defense, has stayed in these games. We've been down by as many as 10 or 12 in these early, just slow starts, and I don't know why that is. It's just a thing now. It's a trend, if you will. I don't know if I don't want to proclaim it to be a thing that's going to continue to happen, but it's got to stop. And hopefully you can break the curse versus Utah. You got to get started quickly. Number two, Honor Huff has to get going earlier. He is the straw that stirs the drink for West Virginia. Teams are trapping him, doubling him, being physical with him, sending their best 2 defenders after him game over game so that they can run with him off screens, because he's like a Steph Curry all game long, and they are going to make anybody but him beat you. So I think he has to get some shots in the first half, even if it's only a couple threes and maybe a 2, just get 7 or 8 points in the first half, just so you've got something on the board. And then last but not least, I just think that you've got to try to kill the will out of Utah. You've got to jump on them quick in this game, because they're probably not looking for a reason to get into a 40-minute battle this week. They're out of the tournament. They know it. Doesn't mean the players have given up necessarily, but teams that are in this situation, you can kill out early in basketball games, because there's not a whole lot of reason to fight once you get down 20 points, right? It's like, I'm not saying that they won't either, but normally
guys start looking for their own shot rather.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So those are my keys. I would love to see West Virginia win the rebounding battle as well. And then I think we would be in pretty good shape, play our tempo, 65, 70 possessions or something like that. And we should be looking good, man. So I like West Virginia to win this game, though, JT. I think it's a game West Virginia probably plays their game. It's probably going to be in the 60s, maybe low 70s if Utah pushes it. I like West Virginia 66 to 60.
I like it. Honestly, for Utah, I just got one main game key for this one. When you're the lesser talented team and you're the team that's just not playing as well either, I think the one thing that can always swing it in your favor is if you just make more shots. And I'm not just talking about it in general. I'm talking about threes. If the 3-ball falls for Utah, I think that's their recipe to stay in this game, because you have Terrence Brown, Don McHenry, smaller guys who aren't as effective at scoring inside. They can be, and they're averaging 17 points a game, right? But especially late in some of those games when they try to drive inside, that doesn't always go as well. So if Utah can make more shots on the outside, that's where I think could really be a good advantage for this Utah team team. I look at a game like the BYU game. That's one where BYU really should have blown out Utah when it was in Provo, but BYU wasn't making shots. And all of a sudden, Utah started to make some, and they came back in like the blink of an eye. And this Utah team has shooters on the floor. 4 of the 5 guys out there are going to be able to shoot it. You got the 2 guards that can get it going. Utah's defense, because of those smaller guards, is not as prominent. So you need to outscore teams. That's what this Utah team does. They do not win low-scoring, ugly games. They need to hit shots from the outside. Unfortunately, a lot of what you said, MP, I feel like is true. I think this Utah team is not going to fight as hard as West Virginia in this game because at the end of the day, they're not playing for as much. It's a little bit of a road, obviously a long road trip for them, one of the longer ones they take heading up to Morgantown. So I expect Utah to battle for a lot of the game, but I just think the deficiencies will show up once again. I'll take West Virginia to win. I'll go 73-59.
Okay. Well, that would be good for the NET. Obviously, if you're a West Virginia fan, you're going to be rooting for West Virginia to win this game by as many points as possible because that all matters. It's a shame that we put ourselves in a position. It's just like, I saw what former West Virginia assistant, now Utah State head coach Jared Calhoun talking about this the other night. They had to score a couple extra buckets versus Memphis, and he was addressing it after the game like, I never would have done this, but this is what you've incentivized because we can't play a bunch of quad one games, so we have to win every possession as goes into the metric. So it's interesting. It works for but it works for us too. All right, so I think we've kind of covered all that. And for those of you that are just joining in because of the headline, obviously we were talking about ESPN and where Lunardi had West Virginia here today. He put out a post earlier today. West Virginia is on the bubble pretty much. It's just right outside it's what they call the next 4 out. So West Virginia can definitely make some noise. Obviously, you got to win this week. You can't lose to Utah. That's just you can't. But all right, so we'll go ahead and go to break since we're at 21, JT. We'll come back. We'll talk football. We'll make a bet. What are we going to bet on? Well, we'll let JT think about it while I read these things off right after the break. Talking about Mazda on this one, guys. And if you didn't know, let me talk about it here really quick because this is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who know and who show, there's more to the score than what's on screen. Look, these remind us of what it takes to really raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit. We put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the real. What it took to get there makes it count. And because there's more to a Mazda, because there's more to you. And last but not least, guys, we're talking about our friends at FanDuel. And when it says, listen, you guys know about FanDuel. I'm a big FanDuel guy. I think it does make certain games more exciting. And if you ever want to experience the NBA Finals live and in person yourself, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered into a shot and 4 shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. So if you're already looking at the board and you're thinking about which team can make a deep run, well, this is the time to do it because this is the perfect time to lock in. I love futures this time of year because whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title, it adds an extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. Visit FanDuel.com to get started and use your profit boost and NBA future, and you can get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. Back here with Locked On Utes host JT Wistercil. Man, obviously West Virginia and Utah play late in the year. Saying it very lightly. I think the last game of the year, right?
We are.
So
the heated rivalry.
We did a show on this a week ago or something talking about what is West Virginia and Utah doing on rivalry week. We could go on and on about that in and of itself. But obviously this is a game where both teams are it's different, right? Because Utah has lost a ton of continuity, although they kept more than most teams that lose coaches keep as well. Yes. Obviously with Scally and company staying on board, you lose a lot of your best players to Michigan and to the portal, but you still kept a lot of your best players and you got a good portal class. West Virginia is finally in year 2 with Rich Rod. you finally get a high school class, you finally get your first portal window, and West Virginia feels really good about who they went and signed. And now it's an interesting matchup, I think. And it could have some stakes when that game comes around if things go right for both teams. What's your outlook on this game, and what kind of bet are you thinking about?
Yeah, I think it'd be fun for that part of it. If one of us, I haven't decided if we should just have someone like wear a Utah or West Virginia hat just for one show or like a whole week. I think that could be funny if one of us had to wear the other person's
Let's see what the comments say. We can even do a poll about it.
Very true. Very true. I'd be down for that, especially the week of the game. Like we could even get there.
Yeah, we can bet to make a bet. And then I'll put a reminder on my phone so I don't forget about it.
There we go. Yeah, I'm not getting the West Virginia logo tattooed on my face, so I don't want to see anyone suggest that. But
I'll tell you what, I'll get a West Virginia logo tattooed on me.
There you go. There you go. There you go. That'd be a good one. But yeah, no, you asked how I'm feeling about this game. I mean, obviously right now I feel very good about Utah. It's very hard to beat this Utah team at home. They had the one down year, their first year in the Big 12 with a bad quarterback situation. Outside of that, they've been really good at home. And even last year, right? Like we can look, and 2 years ago, that was the anomaly for this Utah football program. Even when they went 8-4 that one year, they really only lost to really good teams that year. So and only one of those losses, once again, came at home. And that was to a really good Oregon team that under the 12-team format would have been in the playoff. So this game being at Utah makes me feel good. Devin Dampier coming back makes me feel really good. Wayshawn Parker being back. The fact that Utah's
What about the O-line? How many O-linemen you got back?
Oh, no, it's all gone. Like, you lose all 5 stars. So that's what hurts. But what's nice, I think, MP, is I think it's better to catch Utah earlier in the year with that rather than later, because that gives those guys time to build chemistry. And Utah is one of those teams, too, where like the guys who stepped in on the bowl game, people forget like our 2 starting tackles, the 2 best offensive line we have, they didn't play in the bowl game. The 2 guys who stepped in, it was a seamless transition. And yes, obviously they weren't Spencer Lomu dominant. They're really good. Utah rarely ever has bad offensive line. Granted, the offensive line coach
last year's was like,
it was the best ever. The best we've ever had.
I don't know if you can come close to that again.
No, we won't. But I still expect them to have a good offensive line. A bad offensive line in
Utah was a national championship caliber offensive line.
It was. It was. I mean, you look at that BYU game, there are a couple of better Kyle Whittingham calls away from, I think, being in the Big 12 title game. Tech was clearly the best team last year. That's not a debate. But Utah and BYU were right there. Hence, BYU.
They were, 1A and 1B for second place.
And Witt got outcoached badly in that game.
But,
so I'm
fired BYU proved themselves last year to be.
They did. No, I'm not trying to take anything away from them for sure. Morgan Scalley, I think this is the Ryan Day to Urban Meyer. I think this is Lincoln Riley to Bob Stoops. I'm not saying that he's going to take them to the college football playoff national championships. I actually do believe Morgan can get this team there, but I think the consistent level you'll see will be the same. I expect Utah to remain one of the top 6 teams in the Big 12 year in and year out under Morgan Scalley. I think there's definitely a chance they're more of an 8-4 team this year, but I don't see them falling even below that, honestly. And I think there's still a shot they go 10-2 because I don't think the schedule's that daunting. So I like the Utah Utes a lot right now, MP.
Yeah, I don't disagree with much of what you said it either. I mean, listen, there's no reason to believe Utah won't be a top 6 team in the Big 12. Does everybody love to hate on them because of the fan base and the way they've acted at times? Sure. And you guys will openly admit your fan base has brought that on themselves at times. Mm-hmm. But,
and I
all
never
Big 12 fan bases
anyone.
have their bad spots.
I never antagonize any of the other Big 12 hosts. I never do anything wrong, so I don't know where all of that comes from either.
Oh, God. I think this year, though, obviously we'll know by the time that game comes around. I'm either going to be really excited to play you guys for that game, or I'm going to be like deflated, like, and same for you, or hopefully, I mean, obviously best case scenario, it's, we're going to play this game and then we're playing again next week, no matter what type scenario. Right. Or, awesome. In the Big 12 title, that'd be cool. I do think that for the Big 12, I do think a really good West Virginia is, of all the teams in the league that could be really good, I think, Texas Tech proved that they have some juice nationally. I didn't know that until they got good last year. There was a lot of people interested in them, right? And I think had they gone in the national championship game, I think a lot of people would watch their game. But I think West Virginia, because just the history there, they move the needle quite a bit. too. And obviously we have the star coach in Rich Rod who has Pat McAfee. I don't think you can underestimate McAfee's influence for the Big 12 as a whole, as far as him being a mouthpiece for West Virginia. If West Virginia was like elite, right, or really good one year, can you imagine McAfee? He'd probably talk about it every day. It would be good for the Big 12 though. So, last thing though on this before we get out of here,
I'd be really quick. I'd be shocked if you guys don't get game day this year. I know they are dying to get McAfee to Morgantown because that is must-see TV. That's must-see TV. I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen this year, but obviously things happened last year that led to it not happening. So we'll see how it plays out, but you're absolutely right. McAfee, ESPN, that matters.
There is, I'm trying to think of what game would be the one, obviously week 3 versus Virginia is a chance, but I don't think they would take that game.
Depends on the slate.
Yeah. Obviously Oklahoma State is probably one, if both teams are 3-0 and Mestamaker's on fire, that might be one. What do you think? Maybe.
I think that absolutely could be one. I think the Virginia one, there's a chance depending on what other games are going on. If there is, because I don't know how Virginia is going to be because they lose the quarterback. I forgot his name. Oh, was it Hoover? I don't know. No,
it was Chandler Morris.
Thank you, Chandler Morris. Right. So I don't know how they'll be, but Tony Ellett does a great job there.
Yeah.
I think your hope is there's a week where it's not like, there's not an amazing game this weekend. So ESPN goes with, let's go with the narrative and send McAfee back home because it will be an incredible atmosphere. That's what I think you're looking for, because early on in the season, based on how West Virginia ended last year, they're not going to be ranked very high. So they don't get the benefit of, top 25 matchup with this team. Correct. They're not going to be there. They have to prove that they are that because of where they ended last year. So it becomes, for me, I think, where does the narrative game for them fit into the schedule? And also, you never know what if West Virginia and, like I said, maybe Houston, if they're decent, although that's late in the season, so that'll be tough. West Virginia, Arizona, I think both those teams.
That's a chance there.
But I think your most likely ones are Oklahoma State, Arizona, and the Virginia game, probably, because I don't see much for Kansas. The Houston's a possible one. It just comes late in the season. It's hard to get game day to go somewhere that late in the season if it's not a top 20 matchup, and it's usually the bigger brands too.
Yeah, I would say if West Virginia is able to beat Houston, Virginia won 11 games last year. I did a whole big breakdown on them. They still, people don't trip now. Like, they lost some stuff. Like, they lost their running back. They lost their top 2 receivers. Mm-hmm. They've got a majority of their offensive line back. They've got one of the best offensive line coach in Terry Heffernan in the country. I watched him last year pull major name after major name. I knew they were going to be good before this year because of the offensive line pieces they went and got last year. They went out and got the kid from Louisville last year. He was first team all conference left tackle that didn't allow a sack. And I was like, man, how are they getting all these guys? With that money, man, they had some money, and it paid off for them. So I do think that Virginia will still be good, and I think they'll be ranked preseason because they won 11 games. They're gonna be ranked top 25 probably preseason, maybe high 20s. But that could be a game for West Virginia, although it's a neutral site game, unfortunately. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But if West Virginia can win that game, the Oklahoma State game seems like possibly the most likely, because I think Okie State's got do they have Oregon before West Virginia? Can you find out really quick before we get off here?
Yeah, the unfortunate part about that is you make a great point if that is the case. They're just, I worry about them really getting, once again, like kind of dragged through the mud. So then how appealing is that to then go to them? Now, if they shock the world, there's a chance, but I don't. Yeah. I think Oregon's going to be really good again next year with Dante Moore coming back.
God.
I like the Ducks team. So yeah, they go, it's Oklahoma. It's Oregon at Oklahoma State week 2.
Yeah. So there you go on that. Okay. So, I think this has been a fun one, man. I appreciate you for coming on. Obviously,
always.
Utah basketball not in a great situation. Hopefully you guys get that turned around going forward. Obviously, I remember what I was trying to stall in my head because I had a question for you.
Yeah.
I meant to ask you one quick thing. We're over, but we'll give 2 more minutes. Give everybody the West Virginia side a rundown on how you guys feel about your portal and high school acquisitions.
Yeah, I mean, it was a disappointing cycle for Utah in that regard because they did not land a single proven P4 commodity. They got some nice G5
Really?
guys. No, not a single proven P4. Like there's a Oklahoma safety, there's a Tennessee defensive lineman. They didn't play at all. They played
Right,
very
right.
little.
We had
So
a couple of
no
those.
proven P4 commodities. Was
Oh, yeah,
disappointing.
you said
You have
proven.
some good-
Okay.
Yeah, you have disappointing. Like there's some really exciting Mountain West guys. San Jose State starter, the Utah State wide receiver Pagan. He was outstanding. First
Well,
team all
Tech
Mountain
had a
West.
lot of that though last year.
No, but Tech got David Bailey, right? Like
No,
Tech
they
got
had Power 4 proven guys too, but Chris Level challenged me on this. He said, "Look, man, people want, everybody looks at David Bailey and the kid from Georgia Tech that was started on the other side, the other defensive mind, Romello Height, and other guys, and obviously Lee Hunter on the defensive line, but like the majority of their portal guys were G5, but they were like elite G5 guys. You know what I mean? Like they were first team all conference type guys. But yeah, I mean, they did have a lot of G5 guys. Anyway, I didn't mean to cut
so you
you
get
off.
some guys in there. No, you're good. But the most exciting parts of this roster to me are the returners. Minus, like I mentioned, the Pagan. There's a couple guys that I think could do something
obviously.
here. And yeah, Dampier being a returner, exactly right. So there's a couple of transfers that I think will make an impact. But the most exciting part about this team is the returners. I'm not expecting the high school class to do much. Obviously, Bird Ficklin was a high freshman last year, and he surprised everyone as a fun backup. So we'll see if there will be a couple for Utah. But yeah, the reason I like this Utah team is because of Morgan Scalley. I trust the coaches. There's some still strong defensive pieces in place. It's Devin Dampier. That's the reason I feel good about this team. It's not as much outside
Same
of
offensive coordinator.
New one. Jason Beck followed Witt to Michigan. Kevin McGivern, not the most inspiring hire, but I think can do a fine job. But yeah, like as of right now, am I like, oh yeah, I'm not as high as this Utah team going into the season right now as I was last year because I looked at the offensive line, because I looked at Devin Dampier, because of what they had on defense. I thought they could have a special season, and they did. And I think they're capable of going 10-2 this year, but I'm almost more confident in that because of the schedule than I am this team being better than last year. So not the greatest haul for Utah. We'll see how it all plays out in 2026.
Is it too much for me to say that you can make a case that Jason Beck is your biggest loss?
Yes, you could absolutely make the case for that. I mean, he was fantastic. He made the Utah offense exciting. Like that's never happened. So he was absolutely tremendous. Off the top of my head, it's him. I would probably go him. John Henry Daly's right there. If he can get back to full health,
but a coach is still more than a player.
Smith Snowden, the Utah offensive line coach is a massive loss too. I'll say. I mean, how many first round draft picks is the Big 12 going to have this year? 2 of them will be from Utah on the same position group because of his ability to identify and develop talent. So that's another monster loss. Utah's biggest hits, as arguably as big as they were player wise, staff ones were massive too. Even if, like you already said, MP, they kept a lot of the good pieces in place. Hence why I still think this team will be really good. But last year I felt like I think I did pick Utah to win the Big 12. It's going to take a lot for me to get there.
Yeah. You may need another year, but either way, you should still be a good Utah football team, and we'll see what happens with West Virginia. We'll know by week 3, I think, what we are. And then obviously the game coming up here in a couple of days is going to be fun too. Yeah. Locked On Utes, JT Wistercil, man, thank you so much for coming on, brother. It's been a great time.
Always appreciate you, MP.
All right, guys, thanks for making Locked On Utes and Locked On West Virginia your first listen. Before you go, we've got to let you know, man, as always, the Locked On College Football Every Dayer Club. If you want to be a part of that, well, we can't blame you. And if you're still watching by now, there's got to be something to it. And if you never miss an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On Utes, get Locked On West Virginia ad-free. Plus, you can get members-only Discord access and more. And we have a link for that in the chat, in the description. So you should click on that and all that. And I don't know if we've answered this question. Do we know if that Discord is all the hosts or is it specific to each show?
No, it's all the hosts.
So you can literally talk to all
different chats in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah. Like, imagine you guys could talk to Drake Toll or whoever, Drake Toll's
you message him message him in general, like not direct message, I don't think, but like it's all in the same.
No, but in general, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Like he could respond to your question hypothetically. You
get his exact cell phone number, address, and all right, guys, we will see you on the next one. Thanks for making us your first listen, and we'll talk to you on the next one. We out of here. Cute country roads and whatever Utah says.